What's going on, everybody? JT here. We've got C-Will, we've got David, and we've got a fantastic guest for the show. We've got Abdul Osman, the CEO and founder of Goracle for this episode. This is episode, what is this, 62, 63? I can't believe we're this far. I can't believe we're this far into it anyway, but happy to see everyone. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, comment in the live chat. If you're watching on Twitter, I'm not sure if we can see your comments, but hit us up. We are listening, and yeah, let's get into it. How you doing, Abdul?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. The last time I was on this show, it was live on set in Dubai.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that was dope.
That was Dubai was a lot of fun. I was the plane took about everything out of me, so I was down the first day. I don't even know if I was there, but obviously it's been a while since we've talked to you, and there's been a lot that you guys at Goracle have had going on. Since then, obviously you just launched on mainnet. You got tons of stuff that we're going to get into. So really looking forward to it. Obviously, thank you to everybody in the chat who's here. I see you guys popping it up. Make sure you guys are hitting the like, sharing this. And also, I know there's some Kuptoshites, whatever you want to call them out in the chat. You guys are there in numbers. So, we do the next block is accepting Coop coin for tips and donations. So you can always send those to thenextblock.algo. So thanks, everybody. And let's get into it, guys.
Let's get it. So, Abdul, you want to break it down? Can you let the audience know what Goracle is? This is it right now. Let's do it.
Yeah, thanks, man. We've been working on Goracle for so long. It's a decentralized blockchain oracle, and really we're trying to disrupt the oracle sector. It's funny. I'm in Helsinki. The founder of Aave is from here, so I bumped into him a few months ago, and I asked him what is your opinion about Chainlink and just oracles in general? And he was like, not much has changed in the last 3 years. DeFi has moved so much forward. Other protocols, layer ones, have moved way more forward than they used to be. But you see, like, your oracles still seem like they're stuck in the past. And so, what Goracle was designed for originally was to get large amounts of sports data on chain. So for us, it's like, how do you get a lot of data on chain quickly? When we realized if you figure it out for sports, you can generalize it, because sports is one of the harder categories to do that. And once you do it for sports, you can generalize it to other spaces. And so that's really what we've been working on since late 2021.
How's the audio out there sound, everybody? Is it coming through? Is it coming through all right? But that's awesome, honestly. It's super exciting to be on mainnet. Honestly, I know the last time we spoke on my show and the last time we spoke in Dubai, it was still, heads down, trying to get this product out there. And now that it's out there, I'm curious, who's building on it currently? Like, what kind of applications are building on it? What kind of applications are going to be building on it? What are we going to see coming out of this service that Goracle is providing now? Oh, you're muted. You muted yourself.
Sorry. So I put in my headphones. How does this sound? Is this better versus when I was using?
You sound good to me.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, So we do have an interesting variety of individuals who are kind of building on it. We have some institutional type builders, and this is kind of one of the things that really motivated us to keep building on Algorand. Was the number of banks, municipalities who were reaching out to us saying, hey, I need to use an oracle. And I think what a lot of people don't see about Algorand is just how many people are building and don't care to advertise or talk about what they're building. They're really just building it because Algorand makes sense for their actual business use case. They are slowly develop these kind of proof of concepts for several months. After that, they should, they basically have another year test period. So it takes 2 years for them to get to production, but some big names are really building. And we can't really talk about that because they don't want to talk about it either. And we have some interesting, smaller DeFi apps as well. Sports applications, one of the bigger, cooler applications building on us is this platform for Polygon, who's building sports apps. And they are exporting our data from Algorand. It's written to Algorand, transactions are created on Algorand, and then they're using that on Polygon through Wormhole. So you have to wonder, why are they coming all the way to Algorand for their Oracle if you've got Ethereum, Teller, API3, Chainlink, sorry, not Ethereum, but those guys on that chain. And I think that kind of says a lot to the competitiveness that we're trying to bring to the space.
Okay, so for my understanding, so like a DraftKings, not saying it's them, but you can, this is what the Oracle data is for, so that people can do like betting and essentially, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, I don't know if you guys caught our most recent hackathon, but that's exactly what some people built. The first prize winner built this wind damage insurance, where if if you buy a policy and if the wind speed is over like 70 or 80 kilometers per hour, you automatically get paid out. Second place built a sports betting app. Third place built a game actually that uses Algorand's Unity SDK and Goracle's custom API endpoints, because you can actually call any API. So they were using Open API to procedurally generate game graphics, and you can actually play their game. It's really cool. And yeah, so we didn't televise the hackathon live because it was our first and we were learning it. Like John Woods, Bruno, some of our partners at Brave New Coin, Borderless, they were the judges of this. And it was really fun to see what people built in such a short amount of time. And all these developers were brand new to Algorand, by the way.
Did they use Algo Kit?
Yeah, most of them use Algo Kit, which really helps. Because with Goracle, you have a whole node network, right? So to be able to test against Goracle, you need some sort of local node. And Algo Kit allowed us to have a local node where they can run tests and just get fake data, dummy data back. And then when they deployed the testnet, it was already working. So Algo Kit is, for us, it's huge.
So let me ask one question, and this kind of goes, because obviously a lot of people in the audience might be familiar with Chainlink, obviously being the big Oracle that everybody kind of knows, or when it's talked about. What things on Ethereum are now there because of Chainlink and that are big? Like, I'm not talking about tiny things. Like, is there any big known projects that wouldn't be possible on Ethereum if it were not for Chainlink that you could see migrating, or things like that being built on Algorand now? Because that's the whole thing that, it was kind of like before Goracle and after Goracle. It's like, what type of dApps are actually going to start being built and migrating to the Algorand blockchain, or what could migrate and be built?
Yeah, so I'll give a great example. Like there's one called Liquidity. I'm not too sure if you guys have heard of that. But Liquidity is 0% interest loans, and you borrow USD, LUSD, or stablecoin against Ethereum over collateralized, right? And they use Chainlink's price feeds, and they are truly decentralized. Like if something happens, they have no control. If the entire team stepped away, it would keep going, right? And that's what we call true decentralization, right? Where everybody can disappear overnight and the protocol still works fine. And so for them, they really need the price of Ethereum against the US dollar, and they ended up choosing Chainlink, and they've been using Chainlink for however long they've been using it for. And so for an application that wants to truly be decentralized, they have to have an Oracle. And so in this case, right, if anything happens to their code, it doesn't matter because their code lives on the chain. And when your code lives on chain, your Oracle has to also live on chain. And so Chainlink accomplishes their reliability by somewhat being centralized. They know who the node operators are. They're these kind of big organizations that are well paid to run these price feeds. The way we do it is we just have this permissionless node network where if we decided to step away, we can't really shut down this node network. People are requesting data from it, to and from.
Okay, one question on top of that I have, and this is kind of thinking along the lines of mass adoption in these big entities. We'll name drop DraftKings, right? Like that's the big idea that comes to mind that everybody wants to see on a blockchain. But I want to know, one, how robust is Goracle versus something like a Chainlink for these type companies to actually try and want to build? Because here's the thing, no big company like DraftKings is going to build something on a blockchain that they fear could go down or their service could be interrupted and their users can't use the, aren't getting accurate price feeds or aren't getting accurate data stuff, so that they can actually run their applications. Where are we kind of in this, Oracle's being built and going live to actually getting some of these big name players to actually start looking to move their product on chain?
Yeah, that's a great question, and this may be a bit of a controversial response here. DraftKings may never want to go on chain. It would probably hurt their profits, right? It would be a competitor to DraftKings that can offer the same thing, because with DraftKings, they're kind of closed and they need that, and there's a lot of complaints with their customer service and things like that. But essentially, what you're going to see is a competitor to DraftKings where they have cheaper fees and higher winnings. And if you know anything about sports betting, the lower the margins, the lower the fees, the more reliable you can win, the more money in our pockets. With DraftKings, there's a markup to pay for their whole machine, the whole company, staff salaries, and things like that. And so the competitor that might emerge, can they provide a DraftKings level type of service on chain? What that would do, it would make much cheaper betting and fees like that. It would allow people to provide the liquidity, right? Right now, liquidity is provided by DraftKings matching orders, and maybe they win in some, they lose in some games, but overall, the two sides match over the long term. But you still need somebody providing liquidity to both sides so they can eventually match out. So a competitor to DraftKings, first, people will only use a competitor to DraftKings on chain that's cheaper. If it's cheaper, people will use it, but it has to be as good in terms of usability, in terms of speed, and a lot of things you mentioned. And so when you have, technologies that can match that speed and that can match the, that UX first and foremost, then people will look at, okay, is it cheaper? Is it is it more decentralized? And is it, I know DraftKings is regulated. I can't, like when I'm in Canada, I can't really play depending on where I am. Is it completely decentralized where it's peer-to-peer? So it's outside of the control of governments. And I think, maybe, it's funny, there was a discussion on Algorand, unofficial chat on Telegram. And we were comparing right now to how the internet was in the 90s, where there was so much potential, but shipping was still not advanced. People were not used to paying for stuff online, and they were just wary of it. So I think we're sort of in that area. There might be another .com bubble, and we might see some more apps. But I think 5 to 10 years, we'll start to see a lot of useful apps.
Yeah, no, and I definitely agree. I definitely think the disruption, what you guys are building is a disruptor, not so much a, apples to apples type thing. And we could see another, type, .com type crash. And even Mr. Joker, I saw his comment in the chat there. Algorand, a famous person, Gary Gensler, said you could build Uber on top of it, right? There's all kinds of competitors that can be built. And I guess that's what I'm excited to see, is to see these developers, right, start to coming into the blockchain space, start to use things like AlgoKit, see how easy it is to build something on Algorand at scale, and start to challenge. I mean, we already have something, not a DraftKings, but Algorand Casino. It's a very large project on Algorand that is, in the betting and that thing. I mean, who knows if they could create something even more, intricate now that you guys have built the Goracle service.
So Abdul, can we get? Go ahead if you got something.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, going back to the earlier what I said at the beginning, some banks and some municipalities are building on Algorand because it allows them to be take away their customer service, and now they're saving on those fees because you just do everything yourself and it's transparent. They're foregoing backend databases like Amazon, AWS. So governments doing that save themselves costs in the long term because it's now all on chain and they don't have to worry about it maintaining. So that's the type of adoption I think we're seeing now.
Yeah, so my question, thank you for that. My question was for the audience and for myself. Can you just break down what an API is? I know this is a little technical, and like the most cleanest, easiest way is like, how does a company use an API for a non-technical person? What is an API?
Yeah, so in Web 2 right now, let's say, Silo, you have data, let's say it's music, right? And I
Yep.
want to get that from you. So I make a request. I say, hey, Silo, can I have this, song? And then you say, sure, you send it to me. But the way I ask has to be very specific, right? It has to follow these rules, and that's kind of the interface rest they call it. But that's as long as I request in that those rules, anybody will understand. So it's like using English or something like that.
Mm.
And then you give me the data back. And so in the context of Goracle, there is an API on chain where your smart contract has to ask our smart contract for data in a specific way. And then that's picked up by this network of hundreds or even in the future, thousands of nodes. And then a random group of these are selected to get the data rather than all of them. And then that data is brought back on chain. And that data is aggregated from multiple sources. So, Silo has a song. It has, it's hosted by all these different sources. The node network will go to all these sources, kind of get them, make sure they're the same, and then bring it back to on chain. So that's how it works with Goracle. It's a lot more work, to be honest. But that's kind of how decentralization works. A little bit more work to be more robust and fail safe.
Yeah. And then obviously let's kind of jump into JT. I don't know if you have a question. I don't know. Do you have anything you want to ask real quick before I jump in?
No, you're good. You're
Okay.
good.
So let's talk then about the people who are helping secure the Goracle network, the Gora token. How does all that play a role? And really, what are you guys looking for? Obviously, a lot of our audience is people in the Algorand ecosystem. They're excited about one-click nodes. They're excited about, being having a deeper, I guess, connection or part in the Algorand ecosystem growing. How can someone jump into the Goracle, Gora gang, as you guys are hashtagging it,
Gora
to
gang.
really help it grow and help
Hey.
make your all's project more decentralized, faster, more secure, and all those things? And how are they rewarded for it?
Absolutely. So there is the node network is kind of the backbone, right? And it's similar to how the Algorand nodes work. And those node networks are in charge of running the tasks. So fetching data is a type of a task. And so, you could run a node, and right now, for the first few months, there is going to be a minimum stake just to kind of make sure that we're able to push out updates a lot faster. I think there's going to be a lot of updates in that first 2 months. In testnet, we left it completely open and permissionless to anybody with even one token. And what we saw was when you had 10,000 people running the node, getting an update across everybody was really tricky. So what we did was we implemented a 10,000 Gora minimum, which at current market rate is about $5,000. However, there's another option if you want to still participate, which is delegated staking. And so we have a lot of these institutional node operators who are running a validator, and you could go into our portal, and if you have as little as one Gora, you could delegate it to them, and they will run consensus for you. And usually they keep 5 to 10% of profits and then return it back. And so what that does is it returns. So in the first year, we're guaranteeing about 17% fees back to whatever people's stakes are. So that's kind of how we incentivize that first year, and then the goal is to wean off the rewards. So we don't really have rewards for like specific partners. It's just anybody who wants to run a node. And so the first 6 months is 20%. The next 6 months is 15%. The next 6 months is 10. The next 6 months is 5%. But in time, the gas fees from the customers who are calling the data fees will also go to pay. So I'll give you an example. Let's say there's a sports app, they're paying in USDC or whatever. That those fees will go to the node runners, and they'll be split proportionally amongst. So we kind of looked at how many customers do we really need to be profitable over time, and I think that number was 10. So once you hit 10 and beyond, I'm starting to get profitable. And you look at Chainlink, by the way, when you talk about $6-7 billion of values, total value secured, that's coming from like the top 20 apps, right? They're very top heavy, and so once you have if we have 1 or 2 unicorns building on Goracle, that's that alone is more than enough. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So that was validators. That reminds me, I was reading your white paper too. I don't want to jump too ahead, but validators, I seen something with y'all going cross chain. And I know like a Cosmos, Ethereum, they have the validator system, but Algorand has the pure proof of stake. Can you speak on just like why y'all choosing a validator type system a little bit more, or dive in deeper and not more like Algorand?
Yeah, for sure. So we're not an application on Algorand. Like we do have an interface and we do have smart contracts on Algorand, but we're actually a network, our own network, right? With our own nodes that run our own consensus,
Okay.
which is proof of stake, by the way. And so, you know, it's almost the same as Algorand, but instead of Algorand, everybody kind of being able to bring their token online, or everybody participating in this one, you have to actually run some software, right? So when you run that software, now your token comes online, if we want to use the Algorand sense of the term. And so it's kind of both, really. We are using the same proof of stake as Algorand, but we also have a validator and as other chains. And so whether you delegate or whether you're running one for yourself, it's technically the same thing.
So I'll say a follow-up. So that means these validators, that means they have to hold algo for the Gora gas fee, right?
They have to hold algos for the Algorand transactions that they write, and they have to hold Gora to be able to be selected into consensus for each round.
Amazing. JT, you got something?
Yeah, and I'm looking at the website now, and I'm really curious. What type of equipment, like how could I run a node on just a general laptop, or do I need anything like more specific? So what type of equipment do I need to run a node? And looking at the website, it's not too clear to me, but how do I delegate my Gora stake? Because that does sound interesting, actually.
Yeah, so one thing is, if you want to test it out, and maybe I'll type it out in the
we can screen share too if you want.
Yeah. So it's called testnet-app.goracle.io/validators. And I just wrote it in the YouTube chat, by the way.
Private,
so
the YouTube chat, yeah.
The YouTube, yeah. So the YouTube chat. So basically, you can go in there, getting some test scores and test out delegating things to validators. And you're probably looking at the main website, JT, Goracle.io, but then there's the app website. Which
you got to connect your wallet.
Yeah, I'm on the app right now. I've actually connected my wallet.
Yeah, if you go to the validators
let's pull it up.
section,
Let's pull it up right now. Let's
David, you said something? You muted.
I was just saying, yeah, let's pull it up and let's have him, walk us through.
Yeah, so this is, and if you even so we're launching the validators today, actually. So if you go to the testnet version, it might be easier to display it out. Right now, there's only node runners, which are not which are not they're not delegating. So you can see there, if you click validators on the side there. So this is where they would be. But right now, I think they're all getting set up today. So by tomorrow and the rest of the week, you're going to start to see these filled in.
Gotcha.
But I clicked a link there in our private chat. Maybe if you open that one up.
Sure. Gotcha. So as those fill up, I'll be able to delegate to those validators.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And one question while JT's bringing up the test site, I'll ask for Mr. Joker, is how often are these payouts? So when you're delegating your stake, or if you do have a computer that's robust enough, or you do have enough Gora that you can actually run your own, how often are you receiving those payouts in Gora?
Yeah, so it's block by block, right? So it's block by block. Yeah, it's literally, and you can run it on a regular computer, to be honest, because right now it's just the load is so light. It's only making network calls, right? That's really all the node is doing. So it's so light, you could run it on your phone laptop, as long as you're able to stay online for the entire time. And really, because it's how much token you have, is you're more likely to be selected. It's proportional to how much token you have. So the more tokens you hold, the higher your share of the rewards.
And I'm going to ask this as well, just because I am not a tech heavy person. You know, I'm just your guy who really loves blockchain stuff, but I don't understand all the, you know, running nodes and everything like that. I just got one node set up on a B-Link, which is a small little computer I have at my home, and I have a monitor hooked up to it, and it mines Monero for me. Are you able to run multiple different types of nodes on one PC, or do you have to? Is it a thing where, like, if you're trying to run multiple nodes from multiple networks, they kind of, you know, it mixes up too much, or
They
can
fight
you
for the same energy,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, it's pure proof of stake, so it doesn't matter. You may as well run one because it's directly tied to how many tokens you have. So if you have 100 tokens across 5 machines, or 100 token in one machine,
yeah.
you get the same reward, the same result.
Okay.
And this is kind of, again, one of the geniuses of Silvio Micali. A lot of our code is based on Algorand's consensus mechanism. Is, you know, there's no denial of service attacks or things like that, just because, you know, it's literally one token equals one vote. So you can keep it in a million machines or one machine, you just get the same exact vote.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And I do know this. I mean, heck, I know Fractal Labs was that's a game that's built on Algorand, and they just put out they've been giving out Pepe for active users, and it's pretty cool to see. You know, like you said, if you're getting these payouts every block, I mean, there are times where I'm playing Pepe and literally my para wallet is getting notifications every 2-3 seconds of Pepe hitting my wallet, just because it's every single block that's being solved on the Algorand blockchain. It's cool to see that. So I would definitely
Can we give Silvio a shout out. Shout out to
right.
Silvio.
Yeah, I will definitely be
big
looking
time.
into the node running, just because that sounds really cool to be able to see the Gora rewards being coming in that fast.
Well, this is what I liked. Side note on Humble DeFi, I'd like to see them accrue every like block. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely a person that, like, if I could just check my phone and just see it going every few seconds, amazing.
Yeah,
JT, do you have-
absolutely. And
Yeah,
Go
I was
ahead.
able to pull that up. I logged on to the testnet, and honestly, it's nice. I'd imagine this is what the mainnet is going to look up once these validators get added. But this is really
Yeah.
cool. You can see some familiar names. Of course, we've got Goracle in here, but we've got Algo Scout in here. We've got Node Stake.
We're gonna have to get a next block one.
Right. Couple
Yeah.
familiar names, and it's not too difficult. You just click this button right here, and I can delegate my stake. So I'd imagine it's the same for mainnet, correct?
It's going to be identical. And JT, another really cool thing is 90% of the validators, and they're all still coming on. If you saw the previous version, there was about 50 of them.
Right.
90% of them are from Cosmos and Ethereum. You see the top one there?
Yeah, they understand it over there.
Yep.
Yeah, M-Stones, and they're a Chainlink node operator, by the way. There's also
Really?
0-1 node, which is, I think, on the second page. 0-1 node is one of the biggest validators in the space. Yeah, you see them there. They're also, if you go to Chainlink's main 20 big names, 0-1 node and M-Stones are there. And so
Nice.
we've, and also, there's, if we could talk about how many, a lot of the people who bought the Gora token in the pre-sale and the node sale, 90% of them came from outside of Algorand, right?
That's
a
good.
lot of the people we were kind of onboarding never used Algorand before. And so, people come to our community like, how do you have 20,000 people on Discord or 5,000-6,000 people on Telegram? Are they real, right? And really, these people are technical individuals that came to run nodes and want to be early in the system. And they didn't know about Algorand, but they were able to onboard very quickly. So we're extremely grateful to generate a ton of new wallets and a ton of new transactions from non-Algorand and non-Algorand institutions.
Yeah, honestly, that's awesome. I can't wait to see a lot of them come online, because I think I'm going to delegate my stake to maybe a handful of different nodes just to test it out. Maybe I'll eventually run a node myself. But yeah, that's really exciting.
Absolutely, and all those validators you saw, they all have their own communities. So we get to be on all of their websites and get their people in.
Fantastic.
You have to, Gora is an Algorand standard asset, so you have to learn how to opt in. I think the opting in process was probably the hardest thing for people to get used to. Is like, how do I get Gora opt in? What does that mean? That was the biggest roadblock, I think, for onboarding people to Algorand.
And I feel like that's not the craziest roadblock, so that's not bad at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
We do have some questions. I don't know, JT, if you have some, but we do have some that are in the chat. I don't know if you just want to hit one up yourself.
Sure. We've got one starred right here coming from Don65. He's asking, when you run a Gora node, are you responsible for providing off-chain data? For example, let's say price information is from a third party that changes access fees. Are validators responsible for fees? I think that's two questions there.
That's probably an amazing question, and there's a subtlety that actually changes the game. And I think this is one of the reasons why I like to say we're disrupting the space, is because the majority of the oracles out there, the node operator is also the data provider. And so the node operator has to find a data source. So the price of Bitcoin, whether you're getting it for free or you're paying for it, that's up to you. Chainlink, they're paying for it. They buy the reseller licenses. Something like Teller, maybe they're just getting it for free because anybody can do that. With us, it's not your job as a node operator to get data, period, right? Data providers spend a ton of money building businesses around providing data. And so they are helping us determine. So you have like Amber Data, Brave New Coin, Kaiko. These are the big guns, right? When it comes to digital assets. When it comes to sports, you have big names like Sports Data IO, Opta, and things like that. And so node operators, if you only have to worry about running this software, it makes it really powerful. Now, when you fetch data, the customer pays the node data providers for their data, right? And what that allows us to do is now you're not just an oracle that gets data from off-chain, because getting data from off-chain is just a computation, right? You're running some function. Now you can run any function or any computation. So let's say your smart contract wants to run some complex bonding curve math on chain with fractional exponents. It's really hard, almost impossible to do that on chain, but it's trivial to do it off chain. Now you can use Goracle to run transactions. If you want to have a DEX that sends notifications to people and still be decentralized, you can use the Goracle network to send out those notifications like, hey, you're about to get liquidated, without actually using an AWS backend. So now Goracle is so powerful, we can actually do off-chain computation in addition to fetching data from off-chain.
So communication, I had a Naughty Boy on my channel recently. It sounds like y'all have because that's what your communication of the DeFi alert, that's something that they're kind of building as well. Very interesting. Different questions. So you said, is Goracle located out of Canada or Switzerland? And I'm curious, how has regulation been affecting y'all, like, working with different companies all around the world? And if you want to dive into that and let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm Canadian. Goracle is incorporated in Switzerland.
Okay.
Right. So that's the differentiation. I'm from Ontario, which has very strict laws against, you can't use Binance, you can't use most of the exchanges, you can't really use a lot of things.
So CZ was in Canada. Huh.
He is, yeah, I believe he has a Canadian citizenship. He went to Waterloo. I think that's the same as Vitalik. Vitalik is also Canadian, right? So,
yeah.
But they are very strict when it comes, especially in my province. So we're incorporated in Switzerland. Switzerland is also really strict, but they actually have a frame where if you follow the rules, you can do business. And also as an Oracle, we do need to be on a higher standard. And so incorporating in Switzerland is like, hey, we're going to follow some of the strictest blockchain laws in the world, right? And so we have to exclude other people from Ontario in token sale. We have to exclude Americans, and those are big markets. You have to exclude Chinese people, right? And these are all big markets that we have to say no to, and you get bummed out. You're like, okay, well, I'll get it off the exchange, I'll get it off the DEX or whatever. But essentially, the Gora token is not like, we're not saying, hey, hold the Gora token and you're going to make money. It's going to inflate. We're saying, hey, get the Gora token. You can power the Goracle ecosystem and then earn the fees from the Goracle ecosystem. And that's kind of the purpose of the token. The other purpose of the token is also to, decide which direction it's going into, right? So if you want the direction of the protocol to go here or to go there, you just participate in our DAO focus. So really, it's a token that enables you to participate in the Goracle ecosystem.
And I know we had a few, like maybe 3 or 4 weeks back, we had Sean Lee, who was the previous CEO of the Algorand Foundation, on our channel. And he was actually talking about the reason why so many crypto companies are moving to Switzerland is because they
Yep.
actually have legislation to where these crypto assets are actually being considered in a whole new, like, kind of realm, I guess you could say, of being called utilities, right?
Utility assets.
Instead of being a security or a commodity, which I think is also probably it has to be beneficial for you guys looking down the road with all this. I mean, we did just see XRP won the lawsuit, so that's a good thing. But I'm sure Gary Gensler and the SEC are not done with their fight against crypto.
No, even the win was a win, but I forgot how the exact phrase was. It wasn't really clear, but it wasn't also not clear. It's like they did a weird little. I forgot how to.
Yeah. If you ask the SEC, they'll probably say we won, right?
Yeah.
They
It's like a
sold it
backyard
like a
school
security.
fight.
Yeah, they sold it like a security, but it's not a security.
Yeah, it's very confusing. Okay, so well, thank you for breaking that down. So let's say the SEC does clear things up, then so y'all be full force, be able to work with whoever you want to work with.
Yeah, and ultimately, with our road to decentralization, we take that really seriously, right? And from day one, we always ask, if the team steps away from this protocol, can this network continue? And that's really what we're aiming for, right? We've already put the foundation in place. So one thing in testnet we tried to do was we tried to shut down the node network and say, okay, let's stop, right? Let's just stop. And in fact, there's still a version of the testnet that's still running out there, even though we're not maintaining it or nothing. It's just like a random network that just broke off on its own and it's just running. And that's kind of the first test of decentralization, is can we step away? So that's the first test. So the next step now is to put all the tokens, every single one, into various smart contracts that do what they say they're going to do. That's how they get released, right? A lot of crypto companies, there's a treasury and they hold the token, and some people sign for it.
Yep.
And it's completely up to the people who are in the organization. And so we want to, we're not there yet, but we want to create smart contracts for every bucket where we say, okay, this is for ecosystem grants. There's a smart contract that holds it, and every time there's a DAO vote that passes, it automatically gets released. Things like that, and that's kind of on our roadmap. Then when you look at like that, then it's fully decentralized. Then you don't really have to worry too much about regulation. Obviously, in the beginning you do, but the more decentralized you get, the more peer-to-peer it becomes. And the more peer-to-peer it becomes, the more there's really nothing to legislate. You can't legislate against a network or a group of people who are working together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So is the DAO live currently? I'm looking at the website, and it looks like I'm able to suggest a proposal. If I had the Gora to do so, would I be able to suggest a proposal right now?
Yeah, you can suggest a proposal, and in fact, right now it's free to suggest a proposal, but in testnet, a proposal that passed was pay a minimum fee to suggest a proposal. And I think they ended up making it like, I think 1,000 Gora or something. And that got like, I think 4,000 votes. So even though it's free now, it's going to change where now you have to stake. So you have to put some tokens up, get a proposal, and then you get your tokens back later. But to prevent spam, that was one of the proposals somebody had put up. And passed.
I would say it seems like Goracle, y'all took the best of like Cosmos IBC mixed with the best of Algorand and just built some super dope infrastructure. Because I'm like, oh, this makes a lot of sense.
Literally, see, well, we're standing on the shoulders of giant. We learned from Algorand. We learned from Chainlink. Like, we talked about over the next book. We learned a lot from Chainlink. We learned a lot from Cosmos and various other blockchain spaces. And I think we're kind of the new kids on the block, right? We saw, okay. And I know if Algorand went back, if Chainlink went back, if Ethereum went back, they would have done so many things differently.
Yep.
We just had the luck of seeing, okay, this is where they could have done better, and this is where they did do great. So let's go ahead and implement those now. It's hard to change a system that's already in place on chain. but it's easy to
Right.
create one from scratch.
And this kind of goes back, talking about that the cross chain, and just like the fact that Goracle is not just going to be an Algorand only thing. It's going to be a lot bigger than just that. Mr. Joker had a question, a little bit ago. Said I heard a rumor that there may or may not have been some kind of Goracle MEXC deal. Is there any info about that, good or bad, or even if it's true? I guess on top of that question is the Gora token already launched anywhere outside of being on Algorand with the ASA? Like,
It's
is it
on
already
MEXC.
to it?
Oh,
I was
What?
pretty sure it was on MEXC, but I
Okay.
didn't know if it was going to be on like Ethereum and other networks as well. Can you kind of talk to that?
I like MEXC.
Yeah. So it is on MEXC, yeah, and it did launch. I think it's been 10 days now, where it's just kind of been trading back and forth, and then it's been doing relatively well. And on Algorand, we launched on Tinyman, and I believe it's like top 8 in TVL now.
Yep.
Yeah.
So those are kind of reassuring. Like, hey, people are believing in us, and they want us to see us to do well. We chose MEXC because when we're onboarding this many people from outside Algorand, I think we want to reduce friction as much as possible. And the key thing for that was, okay, let's put it on a place where people have it. And we've seen people get on MEXC, and then they're like, okay, now I want to earn rewards. And we've introduced a lot of people to Tinyman because there's these algo farming rewards. I think we started off with 1K daily, and now it's moved a little bit lower. So then we're also bringing people from off of these exchanges onto Algorand, and they're learning how to use it. So it's a really great entry point. In terms of going cross-chain, there's so many ways we can do it, right? So one, right now we're in ASA and we're on Algorand, and we have one platform coming up who's reading our data from Algorand to there. Eventually, we might be multi-chain, whether we have a token on a different chain or we have our own chain. These things are kind of yet to be seen. They're very complicated decisions, which it's extremely hard to say. They could change day by day. What we do know is just for now, we're able to export data and import data from Algorand, and that's how we're servicing other chains. Transactions are staying on Algorand for now, so that's good.
Yeah.
But
I just want to add one thing here, and this is just because of what we saw with the recent, or this is what going off what I saw with the recent Coop and Pepe thing. Is it like if we're truly talking about it being decentralized, right, with the Gora token? Isn't there part of it that could just be people within the Algorand community who hold Gora could just use the current decentralized bridges and bridge the Gora asset over to other chains? Or is that something that it couldn't happen or it won't happen?
it could happen.
I guess there
but
just wouldn't be utility for it.
Yeah, exactly. So the question is, if Goracle does expand to these other chains, will the node operators accept? So I'll give you an example. Is right now, this app on Polygon that's using our feeds, they're gonna pay in Polygon USDC, right? And that USDC is going to be split amongst the node runners because there's no Gora on that chain. So those USDC goes to the node runners proportionally to their stake, right? Will the network accept this? That's up to the DAO to say,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to accept these currencies. And whatever currency is whitelisted, so right now it's just USDC and Gora that are whitelisted to be paid in fees. So when a customer is paying, they can pay in Gora for a small discount, or they can pay in USDC full price. It's going to be up to the community to decide. And if there is a wrapped version on another chain, it gets whitelisted, right? And if the community says, hey, the node network should now accept this. And yeah, that's kind of how it goes. But if we're not on a chain, like, if you're bridging it to Binance Smart Chain and there's no apps using it on Binance Smart Chain, it might just be the utility is not there, but somebody just wants to hold it in their BSC wallet rather than on an Algorand wallet.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yep. Got some other good questions here. One from Everyday Algonaut Ludo says, where is the documentation on how to run the node? So where would people go to find that?
Yeah. So it would be on docs.goracle.io/technical-documentation.
Okay.
The easiest way, Ludo, is send us a DM, Twitter, join our Discord. Our Discord is extremely helpful. We have about 6 or 7 technical assistance moderators that can point you. So if you join our Discord, you'll find the documentation there. There's a YouTube video. If you go to Goracle channel on YouTube, there's a video that shows you how to run an Algorand node.
Smart.
and a Goracle node, both of those nodes. So we can go
and then,
to
Oh,
and then Mr. Joker also had a follow-up. I think it's a follow-up question. It says, who's got? Maybe he's just asking in the chat, who's got that testnet Goracle or Gora? But you know, how do people get the testnet? I guess, do they need testnet Gora, or is it just testnet algos?
Yeah. Run a node. Obviously, we suggest running a node in testnet first to try it out. If you join our Discord, just ask us. There's a way to create a ticket. If you create a ticket and say, "Hey, I need some testnet Gora," we can give that to you.
So, question about running a node or staking with a validator: is there, like, Cosmos has a 21-day unlocking period? Do you have unlocking periods as well?
No, it's you can unlock it right away.
That's dope. I love that. Okay. All right. Just a little future thought. So I know y'all going to an event in Paris, right? What's the goal at this event, and what do you get out of being with all the other Oracle people?
I can't go to you all. I just had a baby.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
I'm not
Congrats
going
again.
anywhere. Yeah. So the blockchain Oracle Summit, I was at it last year.
Okay.
And I mean, I had a baby last year too, but my son was 4 months, I think. He came with us. That was in Berlin. This year, you know, it's in Paris. I actually live in Finland right now for the past couple of years, so Paris is not that far. But I was supposed to be going there. The baby decided to come kind of a month early. We decided, hey, you know, we're just gonna.
Decision. She did.
Yeah, exactly. So we're sponsoring the blockchain Oracle. I was supposed to be speaking at it, but we're now just a sponsor, and it's a great event. It's some of the all the oracles come there. They share ideas. They talk about industry best practices. And last year, we all the oracles got into a room together, sat down, including Chainlink, including Teller, API3, Witnet, you name it, right? And we just created an alliance of decentralized oracles where we want to see the ecosystem take off, because oracles are heavily underutilized. Most projects use their own home-built oracle, and the lack of standardization, I think, hurts all of us. So this is kind of, we're all have this Telegram chat where we talk frequently to come up with standards.
Love it.
Seems like something like that would get implemented if there ever was a big .com or .crypto slash landslide, and a lot of things got X'd out, and then something better could be rebuilt from the ashes or grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's always going to be refinements. Some things might stay, right? Like the whole blocks and the network effect. But essentially, like you said, something faster, something smoother, less friction would definitely come out of it.
Yeah. Go ahead, JT.
So, we're about 10 minutes on the top of the hour, and I'm curious, what, Goracle is live on mainnet now. The validators are coming. You can delegate. The DAO is coming. What's next for the Goracle network now?
Yeah, so we're going to go multi-chain. And when we go multi-chain, it's not one of those things where, there's a lot of other apps that are like, okay, we're leaving Algorand behind. But every chain we go to connects the two chains, right? And we're a primitive. So, when we go on another chain, now these two chains are connected, and now you can use Goracle to import and export data between these two chains, and you can build whatever you want. So you can build a bridge using Goracle, right? You can build a cross-chain DEX, cross-chain liquidity. You can build cross-chain auctions. So if you want to have an auction on Algorand where you're taking advantage of the fees and people bid on there, but the NFT is on Ethereum, right? So instead of paying gas fees on Ethereum, you're bidding and you're paying on Algorand, but the winner gets the ERC20 token. These are the kind of things that can be done with a true cross-chain Oracle. A lot of the bridges today focus more on assets. We're focused on data, right? And getting data across. And so our goal is to go multi-chain, to open up all these other chains. And I think we can increase the utility of Algorand if it's seamless to switch between chains. If I can transfer between Algorand and BNB easily, and we're starting to see other protocols, like with the whole Pepe and Messina one. But we want it so that anybody can build these things. They're not controlled by one bridge or two bridges. Whereas anybody can say, hey, I want to build something that bridges Pepe, or I want an asset nobody's ever heard of, because I'm a project that's up and coming. Now I need to bridge this asset. I want to do it myself. I can use Goracle to do that.
So
Or
yeah,
like
Goracle.
option.
Yeah, Goracle. So
Yeah,
essentially, what my understanding is, we need Goracle to connect to all the chains, because I see a multi-chain future as well. But bridges is really confusing to me, and they seem to get hacked a lot. And have used some smooth bridges, and so with this Goracle connection, that just makes things make sense with the data so much more than relying on the asset.
exactly. It's what's happened in a transaction, what this address holds, and things like that. So it's data, and really a token is also just data as well.
Drop
Absolutely.
mic.
Well, fellas, do you guys have any other questions for our fantastic guest here, Abdul?
There was one in the right there in the chat, right? That just happened. It says, might have missed it, but could you say what's the price comparison versus the competition? I don't know if he's talking about like fees maybe that are generated versus like something like a chain link, but that I'm guessing that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, we're on Algorand, so it's extremely cheap, right? Most of what you're paying is for the data that you use, and data was never cheap, right? Even on Web 2, sports data can cost you thousands of dollars a month, right? So, so you're still paying the same as you would in Web 2. The only real difference is
the network,
the gas fees.
Yeah,
exactly. So Ethereum, the gas fees are insane, and Chainlink pays for the gas fees a lot of the time to the node operator. Like they reimburse them, right? And so that's something we don't have to worry too much about while we're on this chain. Are we ever going to go to Ethereum? I honestly don't think so.
Why?
Our model just doesn't work on Ethereum, but layer 2s it does, right? Polygon,
Optimism,
Optimism, Arbitrum, and of course, never say never, right? So we might one day.
Oh, never say never.
Never say never, but right now it's just Ethereum is kind of seen as like
they got layer 4 coming too, so maybe we'll use a layer 4.
Right.
Yeah.
The hope is that the AVM. Yeah, the hope is that the AVM continues to grow in power, and we don't have to rely on just the EVM and things like that. But no, it looks like that's most of the questions that we have from the chat. So obviously, want to say shout out to everybody who watched, who's tuning in today. Obviously, you can donate, you can tip the show, you can tip it in USDC, Coop, Algo, Pepe, most assets we're opted into. And
what about
Abdul?
Gora? We'll
opt in after this show.
And if there's anybody who wants to tip us in Gora, we will do it. And obviously, Abdul, thank you so much for coming on. And to everybody also in the chat, make sure you go check them out. Follow them on Twitter. They're on most social medias. Jump in their Discord. I know for my experience, they're super responsive to helping you get a node set up and all of that jazz. And it seems like it's something that anybody can do to help secure the network and earn some fees.
And if you want to help Algorand ecosystem as a whole, this is that type of project that you support, in my opinion.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're watching on Twitter, I'll obviously follow our Twitter page. Go over to YouTube, give us a like and subscribe there as well. And Abdul, the last word is yours. What do you want to let the audience know before you take off?
I will say that recently we had our hackathon, our 5 finales, completely new to the Algorand ecosystem, built wonderful apps, and we encourage them to keep building out those apps. So every day this week, we're going to highlight another one of those finalists that ended up winning. And when you see that Twitter post, follow them, encourage them. They spent a lot of time building these really cool apps, whether it's a game or a sports betting, and just like, let's get more developers excited about coming in. All these new blood that have come into the ecosystem, let's kind of show them why Algorand is one of the best places to be on.
That's awesome. Any more hackathons coming out in the future?
Yeah, every quarter we hope to do another one.
Fantastic. We'll keep our eyes out for those. And we appreciate everyone that watched to the end of this video, and we'll catch you next time.
Awesome.
Peace out, everybody.
Peace, y'all.